Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? This is Dave Ettinger, the host of the Dave Talk Sports podcast. It's 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, July 9th, Tuesday morning. And you know what they say, and it is true, chicks dig the long ball. If you watched the Homerun Derby last night, let's start with holy crap. These guys obviously are professional athletes, but they hit the ball a country mile. I wish I could hit the ball half as far as they do. It's just insane. Here goes my lovely commute as I almost get run off the road as usual. So this is a fun way to start the podcast. This is episode number 13 of the Dave Talk Sports podcast. You can find on my YouTube channel named Dave Talk Sports. Please subscribe right below this video. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Ettinger number 2. You can find me on Facebook, on my website, all named Dave Talk Sports. So last night, the Homerun Derby in Major League Baseball, as we head into the All-Star break, the game will be tonight. I don't know how much I'm going to watch. It's unfortunately, I know they've removed the fact that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't determine, home field advantage in the World Series, which was always ridiculous, but it still requires that every team has a representative. So the field's watered down, and then you have a million injuries and people who just don't want to play and don't want to go. So, Sonny Gray ended up on the All-Star team. Tanaka, I'm a Yankee fan, but Tanaka does not deserve to be on the All-Star team. So it's completely watered down, and I don't know if I'll watch more than 12 minutes of it. But we'll get to the game. Back to the Homerun Derby. The Mets actually have one bright spot. It's the only bright spot of this year. All right, fine. Sorry. Don't call me a Mets hater because I'm a Yankee fan. The Mets have a few bright spots. His name is Pete Alonso. His name is Jeff McNeil. And I guess you could say Michael Conforto. Outside of that, DeGrom's not backing up what he did last year. Syndergaard sucks. Wheeler sucks. You should have traded these guys when their values were at their highest point. But today is not a Mets bashing day. I could do that any day of the week, anytime I want. Sorry, it is what it is. We're talking about the brightest spot in the Mets organization right now, and that is one Pete Alonso. In all seriousness, it's really hard not to like this guy. It's just plain and simple. This guy loves what he does, shows that passion, and you saw that passion last night in winning a Homerun Derby. I mean, not to knock Mike Trout or single him out, because there's a lot of guys who don't want to do it. He gets asked every single year if he'll participate in the Homerun Derby and just says, no thanks, I'm not doing it. After Aaron Judge competed, he felt that it messed up his swing for the rest of the year. I personally find that ridiculous. But okay, he doesn't want to do it anymore either. Alex Bregman says, I've had enough, I'm not doing it. So you're going to get more young talent, more young players who want to do it, and that's what you saw last night. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Pete Alonso, a bunch of young guys and young talented guys, which is what Major League Baseball is right now, competing in this competition. And it is what it is. It's fun. It's just a fun competition. Now, I think, as with anything, it could still be improved. But for the way it is right now, it's a lot of fun. You got a million home runs. You get the ball being hit, like I said, a country mile. And we're going to talk more about that because Justin Verlander, the man who will be starting the All-Star game for the American League, had some interesting comments about baseball in general, about the baseballs, and what he thinks is going on underneath the cover. So we're gonna talk about that in a couple minutes. But Pete Alonso, Vladimir Guerrero, Jock Peterson, all these guys put on an absolute show last night. Pete Alonso ends up winning the Homerun Derby despite Vladimir Guerrero absolutely blowing the home run record for the Homerun Derby out of the water. Hits 91 total home runs, but because of the format, loses to Pete Alonso in the finals. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely fun to watch. And you could see when Pete Alonso hit the home run that actually secured the victory in the Homerun Derby, you would think that the Mets just won the World Series. I mean, this guy is screaming at the top of his lungs. He's jacked up, and that's something that you love to see. A guy who just absolutely loves what he's doing. When you have guys, not just in baseball, but the LeBron James, who's robbed the world of not competing in the slam dunk contest. And that's another just for fun contest that has not really had the biggest names and the biggest stars in it, since guys like Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins and all these other guys used to want to compete in this. So it's a shame that the biggest names don't want to do it, but I really don't care. I'd rather watch a guy who wants to be there or wants to do it and will give you that raw emotion like Pete Alonso. So the winner of the Home Run Derby gets $1 million. First of all, that's perfect, because as much as most of these guys make, that should be the right amount of incentive to try to win a home run derby. Hey, give me a couple hours of your time. It's televised. You put your name out there even more. You build your brand. And if you win, you get $1 million. Here. $1 million for Pete Alonso is actually a lot. It's almost double what he's set to earn this year as his Major League Baseball salary, which is also ridiculous, but that's what it is. He's a rookie. Lucky that he even got called up in the first place. Most teams manipulate the service time that you have, so if he had been kept down for, a little while to start the season, the Mets could have controlled him for an extra year. This is a whole other conversation that we're not going to get into today, but I actually give the Mets credit for being one of the teams who actually called their young star up and said, be damned with the extra year of control. Same with Nick Senzel of the Reds and Eloy Jimenez from the White Sox. Just guys that deserve to be in the major leagues right now. Fernando Tatis Jr., all these guys that deserve to be at the major league level and are, because the team said, be damned with this rule and the way we can manipulate this extra time of control. Again, that's another conversation. I'm off on a couple of tangents here today on the Dave Talk Sports podcast. This is episode number 13. As always, you join me on my way home from CBS Sports Radio Network, where I just left not too long ago. So, what's really awesome about Pete Alonso, he seems like a nice guy. Seems, by all accounts, he's just a genuinely nice guy. But he's actually donating part of his winnings. And again, this is not a guy who's making $20 million, $30 million a year to play baseball. He's making like $550,000. That's still a lot of money, but in baseball terms, especially for the production he's putting on the field, it's nothing. So he's donating a portion of his winnings to the Wounded Warrior Project. Let's stop at that red light. There we go. And a couple other charities. I think it's just a really good cause, and it shows you that a guy cares. He cares about people. He said that both of his grandfathers were military. They served, so he really has a connection with people, and he just wanted to donate a portion of his winnings to charity and the Wounded Warrior Project and another organization. I believe it's called Towers to Tunnels, or Tunnels to Towers. Forgive me. I don't know the exact name of it. But just a really, really good gesture. And it's just really hard to dislike Pete Alonso, even if you hate the Mets. Like I said, I think you can still improve the Home Run Derby. I think the Home Run Derby is fun. But as with anything, it can evolve and change with the times. So baseball wants to make their game shorter and more fun to watch and, more appealing to the younger crowd, the millennials, or, any other generation that you want to talk about, and kind of get away from the average age of viewerships of the 55 and 60-year-olds. And I get that. And I heard somebody, I can't take credit for this, I didn't come up with it, but I actually think it's an interesting idea. How about you have two batters that are facing off against each other in the Home Run Derby? They don't have to be righty versus lefty. It would still work if it was, righty-righty or lefty-lefty. And you have them, the fun of driving and talking at the same time. Let's get us home safely, huh? You have both batters stand up there at the same time. And you go back and forth, back and forth. You hit one, I hit one. You hit one, I hit one. And the format can really be the same. You get the same amount of time to hit the ball. You get the same amount of outs or whatever it may be. And then you can incorporate the video game style trash talking, the Xbox Live, the PlayStation. You get your headset on and you can trash talk someone. In that scenario, you're not even looking at them. You don't even really know who they are unless you're playing with a friend. And you can get that atmosphere at home plate. I hit a ball 470. This guy hits one 480. And they can trash talk each other. And I think it's actually an interesting concept and an interesting idea. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. I doubt it. But it's an interesting concept. Plus having two guys up there at the same time, it's a really interesting, image to kind of put out there for the Homerun Derby. But as I mentioned, Justin Verlander had some choice comments about baseball in general and the place that the game is. And I guess he's mad because he leads the major leagues in home runs allowed right now, which is really rare, one, for Justin Verlander because he's awesome. And two, because he's starting the game for the American League in the All-Star game. He's having a fantastic year. The guy's ERA is 2.98. He's 10-4. His whip is like 0.8. I mean, his numbers are insane. Yet, he's given up the most home runs in baseball. And I guess it moves to his point. He thinks because Major League Baseball owns Rawlings now, the company that makes the baseballs, that they're juicing the balls, making people hit them farther. The balls will go farther when hit. Very valid point. I don't have any proof to it, but I definitely think it's an actual possibility. Nothing would surprise me. I still think that players are on steroids, not to the extent that they were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, things like that. But if you're telling me there's nobody out there in Major League Baseball and other professional sports that are still using, PEDs, HGH, steroids, I got something to sell you. It's still happening. People want to gain that competitive advantage, and they're willing to cheat to do it. It's just is what it is. But Justin Verlander, I'm going to tweet out a link to his comments of what he said, and he didn't pull any punches. He a couple expletives here and there, and he really thinks that the balls are being juiced, and he finds it pretty ridiculous. So I'll tweet a link to that. Really, really an interesting read, and some interesting sound that he put out there in this interview. It's just really revealing, and I think it's nice and refreshing, actually, to get his honest opinion. But what do you think? Are the balls juiced? Are the bats corked? Are people still on steroids? You tell me in the comment section below my video here on YouTube. Please let me know. Again, I am your host, Dave Ettinger of the Dave Talk Sports Podcast, episode number 13, and I am of CBS Sports Radio Network. Now, we talked about Russell Westbrook yesterday being the biggest loser in NBA free agency. So the question now is, because he's talked to Oklahoma City's management and Sam Presti and the ownership about trying to find his way out of town. No more Paul George. It's just he and Steven Adams and, 13 first-round picks over the next 7 years. While that's nice, that's not something that Russell Westbrook's going to be around for to see come to fruition. So where does he want to go? Where do they want to trade him? Where can they trade him? And a couple teams on the short list, the Pistons, the Heat. It's a complete guess. I think he's going to end up in the Miami Heat. I think they package Goran Dragic and Justice Winslow, maybe a first-round pick or two, and then they take on that monstrous salary. Russell Westbrook's salary over the next 4 years, he's owed 4 years, $170 million still, is ridiculous. It's ghastly. These numbers are insane. But the man has averaged triple-double 3 years in a row. He was an MVP a couple years ago, while his field goal percentage and shooting percentages from long distance, three-point range, are going down. He's not as efficient as he once was. He's still one of the most athletic, most electrifying players you can find in all of the NBA. Top 10 player, hands down, without even thinking that hard. and he makes any team he's on better. The question is, are you willing to pay the man $47 million in the last year of his contract? Because that's what it is. And I'm pretty sure it's a player option, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be picking that up wherever he is. Because who's saying no to $47 million? So it's a very interesting thing to find out where Russell Westbrook's going to end up. I think he gets traded. I said this yesterday. I don't know that it's before the season. Things tend to happen very quickly now in professional sports, so maybe he is on another team before the season starts, but I think it happens somewhere in the mid-season. We also talked about this yesterday. We've been talking about it all week. Coco Gauff, the phenom 15-year-old who made it to the 4th round of Wimbledon, as I almost get run off the road again. Thanks again. Thanks, pal. Oh, man. She played Simona Halep yesterday morning, and as predicted, as I said, didn't take a genius to figure this one out, but she went down 3-6, 3-6, straight sets. Simona Halep mopped the floor with her. She had way too many unforced errors. I feel bad for her. I was rooting for her. I love the story, and she should be as happy as can be. She could take this as nothing but a learning experience and just be proud of herself. She's also going to make a nice chunk of change from this appearance here in Wimbledon and just take nothing but positives away from this. Be upset, be sad that you lost, but you just take nothing but positives away from this, making it to the 4th round as a 15-year-old at Wimbledon, the biggest tennis tournament of the entire year. And I wanted to squeeze in one more thing before I get out of here, and this is in the world of UFC. I don't talk about the UFC very often, but I saw this headline, and if you saw the fight, you saw Thiago Santos. He really, held his own for the most part against Jon Jones, and Jon Jones won the fight. No problem, right? But news report coming out that Thiago Santos had a torn everything in his knee. Torn ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus. Yet he fought through that and gave it his all in the octagon. You don't have to love the UFC. You don't have to be a fan of any of this MMA stuff or even boxing. You just have to love the heart and the grit and the determination of Thiago Santos. I wish him the best. It sucks. It's a terrible injury. But to fight through that, when people complain and bitch and moan about everything, every day, it's too hot, it's too cold, I'm this, I'm that, I don't want to work out today, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go to work, blah, 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 blah. And, he's not, fighting at war like the wounded warriors that we're talking about that Pete Alonso's donating to. But he's at his profession, he's at, working at his craft, and he's fighting through torn ligaments and meniscus in his knee. Just unbelievable. And people can learn a lot from that toughness, that grit, and that determination. So, I'm determined to get myself home safely, because this has been another special ride, as almost every ride is, driving home from Manhattan to Long Island. But I think we're going to make it there. Alright. Before I wrap up, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I want to talk about it really quickly. There's a report out there, a headline again, of LeBron James, because LeBron James makes news no matter where he goes, whatever he does, whatever he says. It's reported now that he's going to be the starting point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. To that I say, that's a headline? Please don't be this dumb, this naive, this ignorant. LeBron James is and has always been a quote-unquote point guard. He's a point forward, technically, because he's the size of a mountain. But he handles the ball, even when he played with Kyrie Irving, even when he played with guys who were point guards. He's the man with the ball. We live in a world of a positionless NBA. I don't give a crap what position you call it. He's the point forward, he's the point guard, he's the shooting guard, he's the power forward, he's the center, he's the everything. He's LeBron James. He's the best player on the freaking planet. And just because he's listed as the point guard now, instead of a small forward, doesn't mean he's going to be guarding the other team's point guard. That's it. That's all I got to say. This has been the Dave Talk Sports Podcast. I am your host, Dave Ettinger of CBS Sports Radio Network. I hope you enjoyed episode number 13. And until tomorrow, see you.